Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our week 2 session of Photoshop. I am super excited about the grades from week 1. You guys are doing fantastic. In fact, as I was going down the grades, it was very, very exciting to be able to see so many 100% grades in the class at the end of week 1. And as I promised, week 1 was a very easy assignment. And, as I can see, you are all following the directions. You're turning your work in on time. You are paying attention to the rubric and submitting the correct items from the rubric. So give yourselves a pat on the back. I'm very proud of the work that I'm seeing. Week 2 coming up is probably the most I wouldn't want to say challenging because the stuff we're doing this week is pretty easy. There's just a lot to it. There's a lot of steps involved. So I want to just reiterate how important it is to take notes as you're watching this class session recording, because we're going to be going through multiple steps in the process of retouching these photos. And you're going to be using multiple tools, and I'm going to be providing multiple shortcut keys. So if you aren't like physically handwriting your notes, there's absolutely no way that you are going to be able to remember everything it is that I teach you. You can kind of imagine Photoshop similar to a cooking show. And what I'm giving you in these class sessions where I demonstrate how to do the assignment, I'm kind of giving you a recipe. I'm saying, click here, go here, do this, use this shortcut key. And if you don't write it down, there's no way you're going to be able to then open up your own Photoshop and do the assignment on your own. Now, when you take notes, I would not recommend that you transcribe everything that I say. For instance, you shouldn't really be taking notes on what I'm saying right now. But when I do open up the class and I open up the program, I meant to say, when I do open up the program and I open up the photo and I begin the process of retouching it, the best way to take notes is simply by, writing down step 1, make a new layer. Step 2, change the setting at the top of the screen to sample all layers. Step 3, select the brush tool. So by writing down, steps in that way, you'll be able to simply follow along and do the assignment, on your own. And then you can come to our Thursday class session, or Thursday multi-session, I should say, and you'll be able to show me your work, show me any areas that you're stuck on. I'll be able to then assist you, and then you'll be able to turn in your work on Thursday and knowing that you're going to get a good grade on it. So I just want to take this time to reiterate the best way for you to be successful in this class. And again, I want to remind you all that it's not hard to be successful in this class. I've been teaching this course for over 10 years, and I would have to say a vast majority of my students, like 95% of my students, end up getting a really good grade in this class. So you have nothing to worry about as far as there. And also remember that, if you're worried that you've never used a Mac computer before, or that you've never used Photoshop before, remember that this course is designed for students who have never used a Mac before and who've never used Photoshop before. So don't let that worry you at all. And remember, you have multiple resources available to get the help that you might need on any assignment, whether it's coming to my multi-session on Thursday and getting one-on-one help with me on any part of the assignment that you may be struggling on, whether it's going to the Student Success Center and getting one-on-one help from one of those the Student Success Center tutors, or whether it's emailing me and getting help from me. You have a variety of different places to get assistance. So the point is, don't stress at all. You are going to get a good grade on this class. If for whatever reason you end up needing a little bit of extra time on your week 2 assignment, email me before the deadline, email me before Saturday, letting me know that your work is going to be late, and I'll be more than happy to accommodate your needs. What often doesn't result in you getting a lenient extension is if you message me on Sunday or Monday letting me know that you didn't turn your assignment in. Well, at that point, I know you made no effort to reach out to me and let me know that your work is going to be late. So I'm going to be a little bit less accommodating when it comes to turning your work in. Now, the reason that turning your assignments in on time is really, really important is because week 4 is just around the corner. After week 2 is over, we're halfway done with the course. And week 4 is what we call hard deadline. This means that if you fail to turn in your work by midnight Mountain Time on Saturday, the class ends. You no longer have any access to the classroom. So you won't be able to submit your assignment. Even if you're in the process of uploading your assignment week 4 Saturday and you get locked out of the class, your assignment will not be turned in. You will lose out on 185 points, and that is the difference between an A and a C. And in these early design classes, which this is the easy class, you should be getting an A, right? So that you can then carry that A grade into your next classes, into your harder classes. And if you're going to get a B on something, get it in management. Get that B in, I don't know, algebra or one of those classes that's not creative, that's kind of hard. Your A's should be in your design classes because you guys decided that you wanted to be graphic designers because you have a passion for graphic design. So let's get A's in your design classes. And do know that I'm willing to bend over backwards and do whatever I can to help you get that A. Alrighty. Without further ado, let me move over into discussing how to do your assignment this week. And again, I just want to say we have a fantastic group of students, and I'm so proud of the work that I'm seeing from you all because you guys have done an awesome job on our week 1 assignment. Oh, and I just want to remind you all of something else that is really important that we don't talk about much. I don't think this is going to be relevant to anyone in this class, but Fs. That's a failed course. Anytime you earn less than 60%, that is an F grade. Fs are really expensive. Every time you fail a class, financial aid doesn't pay for that class. So when you retake it, you have to pay for it. And so that costs $1,500 out of your own pocket. $1,500 for a failed class. So please, of course, don't fail any of your classes. But also a really important reminder, I am, again, willing to bend over backwards to do whatever I can to help you get an A in this class. So if you are struggling in the least, if you are worried that your grade is not going to get, not going to be a B+ or higher, contact me. Let me know what you're struggling with. We can then meet on Thursday and we can go over whatever it is that you're struggling with, and I will be more than happy to help you. Okay, so before we get into our assignment this week, I just want to talk a little bit about something that happens sometimes after graduation, is that employers will say, you've gone through school, you've gotten your bachelor's degree, you've taken all of your classes, you've gotten a bit into student loan debt, and you got A's in those classes. But employers still tell you that they're looking for someone with more design-related work experience. Just having the degree isn't going to be enough. They want someone who has a bachelor's degree and someone who has previous design-related work experience. So let's talk about this. What are some ways that you can get design-related work experience while being in school at the same time? Any ideas, Mariah? And feel free to post in the chat if you have any ideas on ways that you can get work experience while being in school at the same time. What are some ways to get design-related work experience while being in school at the same time? Perfect. Yeah. So what you can do is, of course, let all of your friends and family members know that you are a graphic designer and you are, willing to work for them. And ideally, you want to work for a company or nonprofit because you can't exactly put on your resume that you made flyers for family events. But if you have a family or a friend who owns a business, who has a nonprofit or another organization, and you do graphic design work for them, you can put that on your resume, even if you didn't get paid for it, right? You can put that on your resume. Another thing that you can do is go around to local small businesses and local nonprofit organizations in your community and let them know that you are a graphic designer and that you want to do graphic design work for them. And they, and you tell them that you're a student, you just want to do it for the resume and the portfolio experience. They will be more than happy to have you design things for them. Maybe it's advertisements, maybe it is invitations to a fundraising event, maybe it is their yearly financial statement. You can, or maybe their website, maybe they need a new logo design. You can do that for them and make a note of it. You can put that person down as a reference on your resume. And another thing that you can do is go online. There are a number of websites, such as guru.com, and I'm typing this into the chat, and upwork.com, where you can work freelance and you can browse those websites for people who are hiring graphic designers, and you can post your portfolio on there. And if someone might be looking for a book cover for their self-published book, or someone might be looking for a logo design for their company, you can put in a bid on that project, and then they will contact you if they're interested. And that is another good way to do freelance work while you're in school at the same time. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to work 40 hours a week freelancing. I would just recommend here and there, maybe once a mod, take on one freelance graphic design gig so that you have stuff that you can put on your resume, put on your portfolio, so that you get a chance to show that you have previous graphic design related work experience. I would also recommend that you all now start Facebook pages, Twitter pages, Instagram pages for your freelance graphic design identity, right? So you can have Mariah Designs Inc. or whatever, and you can make up a Facebook page for Mariah Designs and a Twitter page for Mariah Designs and a Instagram and even a Behance and a Vimeo and a YouTube, and you can go create. You can put all of your branding for your graphic design identity can be across multiple social media platforms, and then periodically post something related to graphic design. It can be easy as sharing a graphic design article or sharing some graphic design work that you are doing. It can also be something like, just sharing other designers that you like. The point is, you want to have a separate identity from your regular personal Facebook and Twitter pages. You want to have an identity that is specifically professional and specifically graphic design, so that when you start applying for graphic design jobs, you can then show that you have been working for 2 years as Mariah Designs Inc. or whatever your graphic design company might be. And you can your Facebook page clearly says that you have made your Facebook page in October 2017, and you've been posting since October 2017. And 2 years from now, in October 19, when you are applying for jobs, you have 2 years of work experience working under that umbrella of your freelance design company. Okay, so let's go over again. Go to family and friends. See if you can do free, unpaid graphic design work for them. Go to local nonprofits and organizations in your community and let them know that you're a graphic designer and that you're willing to do graphic design work for them. Go on websites such as guru.com and upwork.com and browse and find freelance graphic design gigs on there, and set up a social media presence. So set up professional social media pages for your graphic design company, as you know, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Vimeo, Behance, all of those. And that way you can show that you've been working in the industry and doing graphic design work for a while. Let me move ahead. So late work, of course, please do contact me before the deadline, letting me know that if you're gonna be late with your work. Understand though, I do my grading on Mondays and Tuesdays. So if you end up submitting late work on Wednesday as per our agreement, I'm not going to be grading that work until the following Monday or Tuesday. Just kind of understand that late work gets a lower priority. It will get graded, but it's a lower priority than work that has been turned in on time. And there is no need to, especially if you submit something on like a Saturday, there's no need to expect a response or an answer on, or your graded project on Sunday, because most of your instructors are not working or grading on Saturday and Sunday. And that's just a good tip for just when it comes to asking for help or assistance on your assignments. Getting that help or assistance on Thursday night is great. Thursday night in the multi-session. Or if you can't make it to Thursday night, make it to one of the other multi-sessions that are available throughout the week. Go to the Student Success Center, or email your instructor during the week. Emailing or calling or asking for help on Saturday and Sunday are not the best idea, because we instructors are not usually around and not usually doing work at that time. So just a little reminder, a little kind of refresher from something that we talked about last week. We get the information that you need for the course in a variety of ways. So you don't want to be like Needy Ned here, who you might remember from our short cartoon, who demands that the instructor tell him step by step how to do the assignment when all that information has been previously provided in class and in the videos. So please do come to class, ask questions. If I'm going too fast or if I do the demonstration too fast in class, feel free to post in the chat that you want me to slow down, you want me to go over something slower, and pause your videos, rewind, take notes, email me if you have questions, attend tutoring, attend the multi-sessions, ask your classmates. So you have a wide variety of different ways to get the information that you need. So your assignment this week is retouching photos. So what you're doing, you have a variety of different photos to choose from. Right now, there used to be 5, but now in the classroom, there's only 3 that are available. And what you're going to do is fix those photos and make them look as perfect as they can be. And so you'll have 3 images to choose from, and you only have to retouch 2. And for each retouching project, there's 2 parts. There's adjusting the color and adjusting the lighting of the picture. And then there is also adjusting, removing the blemishes, and restoring the photo and all of that. So I'm going to take you step by step through how to do our retouching project. And this is the rubric for how you're going to be graded. You'll get 50 points for the first image that you retouch and 50 points for the second image that you retouch. And then saving both of those images as JPEGs will earn you 20 points for a grand total of 120 points. So let's go ahead and open up these images. Actually, let's do a little, let's open it in the classroom just so we can all look at it together and go through the process of downloading. Oh my goodness. I opened that wrong. I accidentally clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. Come on. Come on, there we go. So we're going to go to the week 2 assignment. And see, as you can see here, we have 3 images that are available to restore or retouch. And this is how you download them. You simply click on them to download them. And they will then show up in your downloads folder. And these are the 3 images that you have to choose from. So with this image, as you can see, it's very magenta, and the color needs to be adjusted, and then the spots and the blemishes need to be removed. Now this one, the lighting needs to be adjusted a little bit, and the blemishes need to be removed as well. And we'll do some beauty retouching on her so it'll look like a print-ready kind of glamorous project. And this image is very dark, so we're gonna have to lighten up the foreground without lightening up the background. And then we have some creases that we're gonna have to get rid of as well. And be sure to check out the rubric for how you're gonna be graded. In fact, I need to add the rubric. Oh, let me share. Now I'm gonna share an example of what these images are gonna look like after they are retouched. I'm just going to stretch my Photoshop so it fills up the whole screen. We have room to work. There we go. Okay, so this is one of the first pictures. I'd say this is one of the easiest pictures to retouch because you get to have a lot of fun with it and you get to do some beauty retouching. So it has some opportunity to be creative. This is what the image looked like before. As you can see, she's got some pimples. She's got some stray crossing hairs. She has some, the lighting on her face needs a little bit of work, and the hair itself needs to be smoothened out quite a bit. My first step, what I did was I got the spot healing tool out and I began removing the blemishes using the spot healing tool. I removed some of the stray hairs using the clone stamp tool. I brightened the eyes using overlay, and don't worry, I'm going to explain how all of these are done. I colored the eyes using a little blue on the color blending mode. I adjusted the lip color by using curves. I smoothed out the hair using liquify. I did a little bit more clone stamping and spot healing to get rid of the additional blemishes. I'm going to delete all these layers. And we'll now walk through how to go about retouching this image from scratch. Now this is the part where you're definitely going to want to take notes. So please do get out a piece of paper, get out a pen or a pencil, and be prepared to write out the notes step by step. And if I go too fast, feel free to just let me know. Now, first step is, of course, you're going to bring the file into your project. Now, remember last class how we made a new project by going to File, New? And then in order to bring photos and additional elements in, we went File, Place, Embedded. Well, we're not going to do that this time. We're going to use a simpler technique. We're just going to open a file. So to do that, we're going to go to File, Open, File, Open. And remember, I saved this to my Downloads folder. So if you browse to your Downloads folder, you can easily find this image. So File, Open, and then click Open. That is step 1. Now, zooming in and out and navigating around the picture is really, really important for retouching. So you want to be able to zoom in really, really close to see the individual pimples and blemishes. And then you want to be able to zoom back to view your whole picture from afar. So be prepared to write down these shortcut keys. Command plus sign, Command plus sign, Command plus sign, Command plus sign. Command plus sign or Control plus sign if you're on a PC is the way that you can zoom into a project and see it up close. To navigate around a project, you'll hold down the space bar. So write that down. So you guys should be writing down Command or Control plus sign to zoom in, space bar to navigate around the picture. Command minus sign to zoom out. So Command minus sign to zoom out, or Control minus sign if you're on a PC. Now, anytime you begin making a change to a project, you always want to do it on a new layer. So write this down. Shift Command N, Shift Command N to make a new layer. And another way to make a new layer is by going over here to the new layers icon, which is a square with a little triangle in it, and click there. The tool we're going to use to get rid of blemishes is the spot healing tool, which is found on the same button as the healing brush and the patch tool. So the spot healing tool, it looks like a Band-Aid with a little, kind of like dotted line behind it. And the shortcut key to use the spot healing brush is J. Okay, so write this down. Spot healing brush is what we're going to use next. Next, we're going to go up to the top of the screen and make sure Sample All Layers is checked. Sample All Layers is checked. And then make sure Content Aware is turned on. And actually, we might be switching back and forth between Content Aware and Proximity Match. Now, Command plus sign to zoom in. And what you want to do is make your cursor just slightly larger than the pimple that you're going to be getting rid of. Now, to change the size of your cursor, you'll hit left bracket. And these bracket keys are located next to the P button on your keyboard. So these are the square brackets that are located next to the P button on your keyboard. Write that down. So if you hit the left bracket, left bracket, left bracket, you can shrink your brush size down. If you hit right bracket, right bracket, right bracket, you can increase your brush size. Okay, left bracket, left bracket. And now another thing that you can do is adjust the softness of your brush. Now we want to keep our brushes relatively soft. Somewhere around here, like 19, 20% hardness, so that it has a slight fuzzy edge to it so it blends the skin well. Now we're just going to click. And as you can see, everywhere we click or scrub with our spot healing brush, we are getting rid of those pimples. Now, most of the time, this is going to work great. And we're going to end up getting rid of those unsightly pimples. And we're going to work at it really good and slowly remove all the pimples. But sometimes we're going to get a result that doesn't look like how we wanted it to look. You know, maybe we'll be going along, I'm trying to get something to happen. And maybe we'll try to get rid of something like this, and we end up making it look worse. Well, because we made this change on a new layer, I can hit E for erase, so the letter E for erase. Again, just like the brush tool and the spot healing tool, I can use my left bracket, left bracket, left bracket to decrease the size of my brush. And I can erase wherever I overdid it with the retouching. I can go back to J. So J is my spot healing brush. E is my eraser. I'm hitting my left bracket to shrink down my brush size. See, I'm just kind of removing the blemishes like so. So this is probably the part of the retouching process that's going to take the most time on this subject, because you got to find all of those blemishes and you got to work on getting rid of them. And we're just talking about the pimples. Yeah, she has a little bit of fur on her shoulders there. Don't worry, you can leave it there. You know, that's a natural part of her skin. It's not anything bad. It's just the blemishes. And you can keep the pimples, or not the pimples, the freckles. You can keep the moles. But the pimples where we're actually seeing like pimples, those are what we want to get rid of. Okay. So you'll navigate around the picture. You'll get rid of these pimples. And the cool thing about the spot healing tool is that you can do a lot with this. So you see this stray hair on her back here. You can paint it away. Like this. Okay, and navigate around the picture. And so you have this other stray hair here, you can get rid of it. And just do a little bit at a time, right? You can kind of get rid of, you can paint away this little bit of hair here, and you can get rid of quite a lot just using the spot healing brush. Okay, now I'm going to zoom out, and something that you'll want to do, actually I see a little bit of smudge under her eye right there that I want to get rid of. There's a little bit of smudge of makeup on her cheek right here that you can get rid of. Alrighty, and what you want to do is do a little before and after. By clicking on the eyeball next to layer 1, go before, after, before, after. And that, if you're seeing the picture looking better than it looked before, you're on the right track. But if you see skin that looks like it's been smudged or blurred, or it looks strange and it doesn't look right, then that lets you know that you need to do a little bit of erasing, maybe tone down your retouching a little bit, maybe redo it, reconsider it. Alrighty, the next thing that we're gonna do is use something called the clone stamp tool. And every time we use a new tool on this project, we're gonna be making a new layer so that we can easily erase if we make a mistake. I'm gonna go to Shift Command N to make a new layer, Shift Command N to make a new layer. I'm gonna click OK. And now I'm gonna go to the clone stamp tool. Now I'm just gonna show you how the clone stamp tool works. What you do is you hover your cursor over a part of the image. So let's say this eye. Let's say I wanna make a copy of that eye. What I'm gonna do is hover my cursor over it. I'm gonna hold down the Alt or Option button and then click on the eye and then let go of the Alt or Option button. Next, I'm going to move my cursor wherever I want, and see what I'm doing is I've taken a copy of a certain part of the image and I'm painting it and placing it over another part of the image. And the process to do that is you go and you hover your cursor over the part of the image that you want to copy. You hold down the Alt or Option button, and then you click once. And then you let go of your clicker on your trackpad, and that's what I talk about when I talk about clicking something, I mean on my trackpad. Hold down your Alt or Option button, click once, let go of your Alt or Option button, and then you have now successfully made a copy, and now you can paint that copy wherever you want. Now we're going to use this for a specific purpose. I have now hit the delete key, so I've deleted that layer. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to go up here to the top of the screen and change my blending mode. This is very important. So to do this next step on the beauty retouching picture, what you're going to do is make a new layer by hitting Shift Command N, select the clone stamp tool, go up to the top of the screen, and you're going to change the blending mode of the clone stamp tool to lighten. Next, I'm going to go to the opacity, and I'm going to reduce it down to 20. And you can also just hit 2 on your keyboard, and that will automatically make the opacity go down to 20. Now, what I'm going to do is make my cursor nice and small, and I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option button, hold down the Alt or Option button, and click with my trackpad. I'm going to click on her cheek here, on this clean skin of her cheek. So hold down the Alt or Option button, and I click on the clean skin of her cheek. Next, I'm going to paint under her eye. And what I'm doing here, because it's on the lighten blending mode and because it's on 20% opacity, what I'm doing is lightening the shadows under her eyes. And I can do the same thing for the other eye. I can take a little sample here, Alt or Option click. I can go over to this eye here and I can paint. And I can paint again. And I can get rid of the dark shadows under her eyes. And let's see the before and after. Before, after. See the difference? Before, after. So we've gotten rid of those dark shadows under her eyes. But we can also use clone stamp for other little imperfections that we can get rid of. For instance, notice how her eyebrow kind of goes up here. I'm going to go up here and change my blending mode back from lighten to normal, changing my blending mode from lighten back to normal. I'm changing my opacity back up to 100%. And what I'm going to do is hold down the Alt or Option button and click on the kind of skin, the clean skin that is above her eyebrow here. I'm holding down the Alt or Option button and I'm clicking once on my trackpad and letting go of my Alt or Option button. Now I'm going to paint over her eyebrow and I'm reshaping her eyebrow. So instead of having that weird jaunt up at the end, now her eyebrow has a nice smooth curve. Now we're ready to do some fun stuff. I'm going to make a new layer. And so far the tools that we've used have been the spot healing tool and the clone stamp. Next, I'm going to go to this brush tool here, and I'm going to make sure that my brush is 0% hardness. So it's going to have a nice soft edge to it. And I'm going to increase the size of my brush so it's roughly the same size as her forehead. Now, I want to make sure that I'm painting with pure white. So I'm going to hit the letter D on my keyboard, write this down, D on my keyboard. That resets my foreground and background colors to pure black and pure white. Then I'm going to hit X, and that toggles my foreground and background colors. So before, white was the background color and black was the foreground color. Now, white is the foreground color and black is the background color. Now I'm going to paint on her skin where I want light to be hitting her. So light is going to hit her forehead, and it's going to, I don't want it messing up the eyes too much, but I'm imagining the light, hitting her cheeks, hitting below her nose, and I want the face to be the focal point. Now, by painting with this soft edge brush here on her face like this with white, obviously it doesn't look realistic at all, but we're using this to create a lighting effect, and the lighting effect is going to be created when I change the blending mode of this layer, okay? So step one was to get the brush, paint with a large soft edge brush, paint it pure white on her face. Step two is go over here to the layer panel, and layer 3 is where my painting is on. I'm going to change the blending mode of layer 3 from normal to soft light. Now her skin is a little bit too much on the light side. She looks a bit like a vampire. Let's see the before and after. So before, after, a little bit too light. So we're going to reduce the opacity of this soft light layer. And now before, after. What we've done is we've added a little glow to her face. We've softened the shadows. So instead of the shadows being so dark, they're a little bit brighter. Kind of opened up the face a little bit. And we've helped to make her face more of the focal point. Before, the face and the shoulder were equals. Now the face is definitely more important than the shoulder. Now we can have some fun. I'm going to make another new layer. And on this new layer, I'm going to brighten up the eyes. So I'm using my brackets, my left bracket, which is next to the letter P on my keyboard. And I'm painting with white. So see how I've painted her irises white? Obviously this doesn't look realistic at all. Please don't turn something in looking like that. But what I'm going to do now is change the blending mode of this new layer that I've created. I'm going to change the blending mode from normal to overlay. Now see how her eyes appear to glow? Before, after, before, after. It's a little bit too much right now. It doesn't quite look realistic. But if I lower the opacity, and I just have a little bit of brightness in her eyes. So before, after. See how much better that looks? Now with this, I can change her eyes to any color I want. So I'm going to make another new layer, so many new layers, Shift, Command, N, remember. And I'm going to get my brush tool out, and I'm going to change it to, let's say, purple. And I'm going to paint with purple. Again, do not leave her eyes looking like this. Does not look realistic. But if I change the blending mode from normal to color, we can see the lights and the darks that are underneath that color, and it looks like we've simply recolored those eyes. Now again, not quite realistic. I would recommend lowering the opacity on this color blending mode quite a bit. So now we have a kind of a subtle purple, but it's not overpowering. Let's see where we've come from and where what we've accomplished. So before, after, quite a bit better, right? Now I'm going to make a new layer. And we can continue to do, minor makeup using things like overlay and color. So I'm going to put this back on the overlay blending mode, and I'm going to hit X on my keyboard. And I'm going to lower my brush opacity to 20% by hitting 2 for 20. Now watch, I can paint in her eyebrows, and because it's on the overlay blending mode, it will, it'll subtly darken her eyebrows without it looking overly painted. I'm just gonna erase a little bit there and just kind of get a little blend there. I can also, paint a little eyeshadow. Right? And I can also paint a little blush. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to change my blending mode to color, and I'm going to get a little bit of pink. And so that's a little bit on the too pink side. So I'm going to lower the opacity a little bit and just have a little subtle before, after, just a little subtle pinkish glow there. Ta-da, looking pretty good, right? Before, after, before, after. Now I'm going to make another new layer, and this is where we get to play with adding lipstick. So what I'm going to do is get my lasso tool out, and I'm going to go to my standard freeform lasso tool, and I'm going to go to the new selection tool. And this is really important. So standard lasso tool is the standard new selection option, where it says feathering up at the top of the screen. Change the feathering to 1 pixel. And now what I'm doing is I'm staying inside the line as I'm clicking and tracing, clicking and dragging to outline her lips. And I do recommend staying inside the lip line rather than going outside the lip line. I kind of went a little bit outside there at the top. And now where there's a subtract from selection option, I'm going to click there. So subtract from selection, and I have now outlined her lip ring. And also this part here where I went a little bit above her lip, I can subtract from selection by clicking and drawing and getting rid of that and kind of refining the selection there. And now I am going to go to my adjustment layers. And my adjustment layers are found at the bottom of the layer panel. There is a circle that's light on one side, dark on the other. I'm going to click on it. I clicked on the wrong one, sorry. Hit Command Z. There we go. I'm going to click on the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other. And I'm going to go to curves. I'm going to go to curves here. Now watch, I'm going to click on this middle line here and drag it down, and see, as you can see, as I'm dragging it down, it makes her lips darker. I'm gonna get something that kind of goes with her makeup and her eyes. As I drag this up, it makes the lips lighter, right? So let's say I wanted to give the lips a little bit more of a magenta, almost slightly purplish look to them, so they kind of match the eyes. What I'll do is go to where it says RGB here, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to click on the green option. And I'm going to reduce the amount of green, and what that does is adds a little magenta to her lips. And then I'll click on the blue, and what I'll do is I'll add a little bit of blue, and that helps to kind of add a little bit of purplish to her lips, right? And if you're feeling like, oh, you know, maybe my lip color is a little bit too extreme, and again, you can change the eye and the lip color to whatever you want. You can always reduce the opacity just so there's kind of a stain, just kind of a little hint of purple there, but it's not too extreme. Now the final thing that we're going to do is work with her hair and kind of smoothen out her hair a little bit and make it look not so scraggly. What I need to do first, and this is a shortcut key that you're definitely going to want to write down because you're not going to be able to remember it, is go to Shift, Command, Option E. Shift, Command, Option E. Or if you're on a PC, it's going to be Shift, Control, Option E. Now, what this does is it merges all of your layers together without deleting them. So you have a merged layer that represents everything that was below it. And what we're going to do on this merged layer is apply the liquefy filter. So I'm going to go up to filter up at the top of the screen. And I'm going to click on liquefy, filter, liquefy. Now, the main liquefy option is something I call the finger tool or the forward warp tool. And I'm going to shrink my brush down by hitting the left bracket key. And what I'm going to do is place my forward warp tool kind of halfway on the hair and halfway out, and I'm just going to push her hair out. And what I'm doing is creating an optical illusion. I'm just gently pushing the hair out. So what this does is it will create the effect of volume, and it will minimize the appearance of scraggliness. Just pumping this up, adding a little bit of volume. And there's this hair here that kind of sticks out. And I have yet to see students be successful, like making it look like it's disappeared. So I just say leave that hair. That's, you can kind of push it in this way, but don't try to do too much to it. It's just better if you kind of just let it rather than overdoing it. What you don't want to do is make your pixels look warped. You don't want to like make things look like they've been blurred or distorted too much. So you don't want to do stuff like that. Okay, now I'm going to click OK. And the thing is, this is going to take a little work. It's not going to be something that you can easily do in 5 minutes. I've had a lot of practice at it. So there's an art to it, and there's no like one right way or one wrong way to liquefy her hair. I'm going to click before and after. Before and after. So see how her hair now looks a lot smoother just because it has more volume to it. I would honestly though rather you turn in something that looks like that without the hair manipulated at all than something where you've tried to manipulate the hair but you've ended up making the hair look blurry or distorted or liquefied and digitized and painted. So I would much rather have normal looking hair than fake looking hair. Okay. Now the next thing is turning this in. You're going to be saving, of course, your native file format, and your native file format is your .psd file that is going to have all of your layers. You're not turning that in though, okay? You're saving that for your capstone class. What you're going to be turning in is your JPEG. So first, let's save the native file format. So we're going to go File, Save As. You guys are all making a folder on your desktop. I'll just make a folder. I forgot if I made one or not. That is DES104 schoolwork. And then you're going to call this by the name convention DES104 underscore week1 underscore week2 rather assignment A. Make sure it's a PSD file and then hit save. Next, you're going to save the JPEG. So you're going to go to File, Export, Save for Web. Browse to that folder that we made. Save, and you've saved it as a JPEG. Any questions so far? Alrighty, so I would say the next easiest photo for this week's assignment is the dog picture. So if I were you and I wanted to pick the 2 easiest photos to retouch for this week's assignment, I would pick the Harley picture because it's fun. We get to do beauty retouching and that's a blast. And you can be creative. And the dog picture because it is also very easy. So first step with the dog picture is we have to adjust the colors. If you look at them, you know that the colors are off, but you might not be sure why. So let's figure out how we figure out what's wrong with the colors. I'm going to Command + sign to zoom in. A great indication is looking at the shadows and looking at the highlights. So in this picture, the whites of the dog's fur, if you kind of click on the grayish area of the whites, or what should be gray, um, you'll notice that it's coming out kind of pink. That lets you know that the picture is too magenta. Another thing that you can do is click in the shadows, like the dog's eyes, and you can see instead of the shadows being pure black, they're actually kind of reddish brownish. They're kind of in here. And I'm just using my eyedropper tool to click on these. So you can hit I for eyedropper, and then you can click on, the whites or the blacks, and you can kind of see that there's a lot of red. There's a lot of pink in this picture, and especially the skin tones. Instead of the skin tones looking real, they're very pink. So now I'm going to go to the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other. And I'm going to click on color balance. So the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other at the bottom of the layer panel. And I'm going to click on color balance. And now I'm going to drag my slider a little bit away from magenta and towards green. Not so much to where the dog's fur starts to look green. But right about there. So click on the little eyeball before, then click on the little eyeball after. Now I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to, you can probably guess what I'm going to do next. I'm going to use spot healing to get rid of these little tiny dots. Okay, and then I'm going to use clone stamp to get rid of this big white splotch. Okay, so I'm going to get my spot healing out, scrub, scrub, scrub. Getting rid of all of these dots. Now, a few areas are going to be kind of difficult. This little spot, that spot's not difficult, but this spot by her chin here. And keep in mind, you're going to want to spend a lot more time on this than I did. I know how to do it, but you might mess up a few times when you do it, and that's totally fine. So with this little spot, I recommend keeping your brush size really small and then working outward and then gently working your way in. So working outward and then gently working your way in. So before, after, before, after. Now I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to go to my clone stamp tool. And now I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option button and click on this tree over here. And what I'm going to do is extend this tree. I have to keep on going over here and clicking Alter Option. And I'm extending this tree into this white spot. Alter Option. Now I'm going to go over here, Alter Option, click. Alter Option, click. I'm going to go over here and steal some tree, Alter Option, click. And this is where the art comes in. You know, you have to use your own artistic, Alter Option, click. You know, your own artistic instincts to make this work, right? But what I'm doing is I'm just filling in that spot with filling it in with tree. Steal a little more tree over here. And now I can steal some sky from over here, so I can go Alter Option, click. Or actually, you know, I can steal this over here. This is really good background. Kind of paint over here. So it just kind of looks, now instead of a car, it looks like a pond or something. So now we've kind of filled in this back area here. A little something. And that's all you're doing with retouching is, you know, filling in those gaps, figuring out a way to fill those gaps in. So let's go and take a look at the before. I'm going to hold down the Alter Option. I'm going to click before, Alter Option, click after. And remember, you're going to save your PSD file for your capstone. So you're going to go to File, Save As, and, you know, name it something that you're going to remember, and you're going to name it to your schoolwork folder. And you're going to go to DES104 _ week2 _ assignment B. And you're saving your PSD file, and then you're going to save it as a JPEG. So you're going to go to File, Export, Save for Web, JPEG High, hit Save. And that's the JPEG that you'll be turning in. Now the third picture you have to retouch, again, this is not required. You don't have to do 3, but you can choose 2. You'll choose your favorite 2 that you want to retouch. Here it is. And this one's a little bit more complicated because there are creases that are going across the photo. So first step is we have to brighten this up a little bit, because you'll notice the foreground is very dark and we want to keep the background nice and light. So step 1 is to go to the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other at the bottom of the layer panel. And you're going to click on it. And then you're going to click on levels. And I'm going to click on this gray slider and drag it a little bit towards the black slider, just a little bit, just to brighten it up. Now let's see the before and after, before, after. As you can see, by brightening up those shadows, we've added a lot of red to the picture. So a lot of red has come in. So we need to get rid of that red using color balance. So I'm going to go to the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other. And then I'm going to go to color balance. And then I'm going to drag my slider away from red and towards cyan. And as you can see, unfortunately, it's starting to affect the whites a little bit. So I'm going to lay off there. And instead of going to the midtones to change this color, I'm going to go to the shadows. I'm going to drag my slider a little bit away from red and towards cyan. And there we go. So that way, before, after, we've gotten rid of that excess red in the shadows instead of accidentally making the fur start to look blue. Now I'm going to make a new layer. And the clone stamp will be really easy to use in the wood part here. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is use my clone stamp tool to take a sample of the wood by holding down the Alter Option button and clicking. And I'm just going to paint here. Alter Option click. Paint. Alter Option click. Alter Option click. Alter Option click. And I'm going to go over here. So let's see the before and after. Before, after. So as you can see, we've gotten rid of quite a bunch there. Now the tricky part is seeing whether clone stamp or spot healing will be better for this part that's by the blinds here. So I'm going to go to spot healing, and again with a softish edge brush, let's see if I can kind of paint over and see if you see that kind of works pretty well. Kind of painting over the creases here. And I would say that the smaller you keep your brush, the better it will be. Let's see, before and after. Before and after. Now I'm going to go and we have this problem with the cat's eye. The cat is missing an eye, so we need to put that eye back. So what I'm going to do is make a new layer, and I'm going to get my lasso tool out again. And with my lasso tool, I'm going to select that eye. And then I'm going to go to Edit, Copy Merged. Or you can also hit Shift Command C or Shift Control C. Then I'm going to hit Command V to paste. Now remember, V is the move tool, so all I have to do is hit the letter V, click on this duplicate, and move it over. And then I need to flip that eye, because right now this eye is facing the wrong direction, right? So I'm going to go to Edit, transform, flip horizontal. Now, right now, the eye looks a little bit cut out, so I want to blend the cutout by going to the eraser tool and then lowering the hardness all the way down to 0. And see now how I've kind of used a soft edged eraser to blend the eye. Now the only problem here is the cat appears to be cross-eyed now. So we need to increase the cat's pupil. So I'm gonna get some black on a paintbrush, and I'm gonna use a paintbrush that's kind of hard, but not 100% hardness. And I'm just gonna increase the size of the cat's pupil, like so, keeping my brush opacity on 100%. And this way, let's see the before and after. Before, after, before, after. We cleaned up quite a bit. And if you spend a little bit more time here in the curtains, because that's the hard part, you'll be able to get a much better result. Just take some time to really get those creases down. Now remember, we're always going to save our native file format. So we're going to go File, Save As. And we're going to save this, in your folder where you're saving all of your PSD files, and we'll call it DES104 _ week2 _ assignment C. And then, of course, you're going to save your JPEG. So you're going to go to File, Export, Save for Web, and then you're going to hit JPEG. Alrighty, any questions so far? I think this is a good time to talk about the discussion. This is a chance for this discussion this week is a chance for you to create a how-to video or a tutorial on how to use a specific tool in Photoshop. So you're welcome to use one of the tools that we have talked about already in class. And you're also welcome to choose any tool that we haven't yet talked about. Teach that tool to yourself. You can easily go on YouTube and find a video that teaches you how to use that tool. And then you can write up a tutorial on how to use that tool. And you can submit that, or you could make a video. Now, a really easy way to make a video on using a tool in Photoshop is using a software that's already installed on your software, on your program, and that is QuickTime. So if you go to your Applications folder, you will find there's our little QuickTime player there. So I'm going to double click on QuickTime. And now I'm going to go to File, New Screen Recording. And then really important, make sure that your microphone is in the microphone section. So you have built-in microphone selected, or else no audio will be recorded. So what you do is just click on this little down arrow and then make sure built-in microphone is selected. And then when you're ready to record, you click on the red dot there and then click anywhere you want on your screen. So now you'll go, hello, today I'm going to teach you how to use the brush tool in Photoshop. First step is you have to make a new document by going to File, New, and I'll just make a document that is 5 inches by 5 inches, 300 resolution. Now, anytime you use any tool in Photoshop, you always want to make a new layer. So you'll go to Shift-Command-N to make a new layer. And then to use your brush tool, you'll just hit B for brush. Hit the letter B, and then you can start painting with the brush tool. To increase the size of your brush, you'll hit the right bracket key, and every time you hit the right bracket key, your brush will get bigger, like so. If you want to decrease the size of your brush, you'll hit the left bracket key, and the left bracket key decreases the size of your brush. If you want to decrease your opacity, you can hit any of the numbers on your keyboard. For instance, 1 will give you 10% opacity, 2 will give you 20% opacity, 3 will give you 30% opacity, 4 will give you 40% opacity, 5 will give you 50% opacity, 6 will give you 60%, 7 will give you 70%, 8 will give you 80%, 9 will give you 90%, and 0 will give you 100%. To change the flow on your brush, hold down Shift, then hold down Shift while clicking 1, and Shift 1 will give you 1% flow, which kind of mimics I would say like a pencil. Shift 2 gives you 20% flow. Shift 3, 30% flow. Shift 4, 40% flow. Shift 5, 50% flow. Shift 6, 60% flow. Shift 7, 70% flow. Shift 8, 80% flow. Now we're starting to feel like a marker. Shift 9, 90% flow. And Shift 0 is 100% flow. Now it feels like permanent marker that way. So flow and opacity. Another thing that you can do is hit X on your keyboard, and that toggles your foreground and background color. So if I want to paint with white, I just hit with X. If I wanted to paint with black, I hit with X again. So X toggles your foreground and background colors like so. And that is my video. And then when you're done making your video, you can watch it. All right, so here's my little video I made. So now you'll go, hello, today I'm going to teach you how to use the brush tool in Photoshop. First step is you have to make a new, and then what I would recommend that you do is upload that video to YouTube. And then YouTube will give you a URL of where your video is uploaded. Copy that URL and paste it into the discussion board, and ta-da, it's that easy. But if you're a little bit worried or nervous about showing your face on the screen or showing your voice on the screen for the class, you're welcome to write up your tutorial. Just make sure that your tutorial is at least 300 words or more. Let's go to our final assessment for tonight. There it is. So remember, your assignment, you're going to get 50 points for each 50 points for each image that you retouch. And then you are going to get 20 points for saving and submitting them as JPEGs. For your assessment, you're going to be making a text on a path project. This means that you're going to draw a path either with the custom shape tool or the pen tool. Type text on it, turn it in. It will take you all of 5 minutes to do this text on a path assessment. So let's do it. First step, I'm going to make a document of a reasonable size. I'm going to go to File, New. I'm going to change my size to something reasonable like 7 by 5 and 72 resolution. That's a nice small size document, so I'll need to hit Command + to zoom in. Now, first step, whenever I'm designing something, I don't like to start with a blank white page because it's a little bit boring. So I'm going to put a little gradient on this. So first step is Shift Command N, and now I'll throw on a little gradient. And I'll use a little of this gradient here. I'll use the radial gradient. And gradients are cool because you can just click and drag and you make a nice, cool little gradient there. I think it looks pretty Now I'm gonna make another new layer. Now I have something to work with. I think black text on my blue isn't gonna be good. I want some kind of dark blue, I think. And the easiest way to make a path is to use your freeform pen tool. And your freeform pen tool just lets you draw with your touchpad. So the freeform pen tool is on the same button as the standard pen tool. So just click on it and then click on the one that says freeform pen tool. And then we want to go up to the top of the screen. And remember, we have 3 options up at the top of the screen. We have shape, and we have path, and we have pixels. I'm going to click on the path option because we're making text on a path. And check out how easy it is. You can click, 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 make a little path there. And what I'm just doing is clicking and dragging, just like I'm drawing with the brush. Now I'm going to get my text tool out. And right now I'm at 200%, so let's do 24. I'm gonna hover over my text and I'll start typing. And you can type whatever you want here. All you have to submit is text on a path. I don't care what it says. It could be your name, it could be a poem, it could be an inspiring quote. It's totally up to you. And then what you're gonna do is, of course, save your native file format. So you're going to go to File, Save As. You'll call this DES104 underscore week2 underscore assessment. And then hit save. And then you're also going to save this as a JPEG. And the JPEG is what you're going to be turning in. So you're going to go to File, Export, Save for Web, Save. And that JPEG is what you're turning in. Now the freeform pen tool is the easiest way to make a text on a path, but not the only way. The other pen tool that we have, I'm going to go to my paths window by going up to Window, Paths. I want to delete this path that I've made by just clicking on the path and hitting delete. And I'm going to go to my standard pen tool. Now you're going to learn a lot about the standard pen tool in Illustrator. It's really important, but it's also really important in Photoshop because the freeform pen tool is one that you're going to use in all the Adobe programs, so make friends with it. The way the freeform pen tool works is if you click on 2 points, I clicked on point 1 there, and I'm going to click on point 2 here, it makes a straight line. But if you want to make a curved line, you have to click on a point and then don't let go, keep pulling, click and drag, and see now these anchor points, these things called Bezier curves come up, and those create the curve. Now I'm going to click on another point, and this time I'm going to click and drag. See how I'm continuing to create this curve? Click and drag. Click and drag. So see how I created this curved line with the standard pen tool? And for this assignment, your path must curve. Your path must have a curving line. Now I'm going to get my text tool out. I'm going to hover on the path here, and I'm going to start typing. And that is how you make text on a path. And yet another way to make text on a path is by going to the shape tool. I can use the custom shape tool, and see up here where it says shape, path, and pixels. I need to make sure that I have the path mode selected, not the shape mode. Next, I can choose any old shape I want. So let's say this little bird here. Click and drag to create this bird. Get my text tool out, shrink down my text, hover over the bird, and start typing. See now, my text is wrapping around the bird like so. Text on a path, so easy. It's ridiculously easy. Any questions so far? Okay, this is the rubric for how you're going to be graded on your assessment. You're going to get 25 points for design quality, 25 points for saving it as a JPEG, 25 points for creating a text on a path design. And if you use images, you don't have to use images, but if you use images, make sure that they are license-free, non-copyright protected images. And your path must curve, because I cannot tell if you've made text on a path if it doesn't curve. And you can't use the text warp tool, okay, because the text warp tool is different from text on a path. So since we've talked about retouching today, I thought we'd take a look at some really inspiring Photoshop retouching. And then I'll talk a little bit about like what to make for your portfolio so that you guys can get jobs and stuff. And feel free to let me know if you have any questions at any point in time.
The word Photoshop is often used like, oh, you can just Photoshop that with the click of a button. And it's not true. It's really not true.
Photoshop is such an amazing tool. It changed the whole photography world.
Online culture would be a lot more boring if there weren't editing tools like Photoshop.
A lot of people feel that because you pass some work through Photoshop or digital, the process is not as valid that it's going to be with a click of a button, which is a big misconception. I feel like I do draw traditionally, but I just do it on the computer. Photoshop, there's nothing you can't create with it, especially nowadays. It's just like learning any program. I feel it's definitely important to experiment for yourself. Just go crazy with it. I think a lot of my work is fantasy, but photorealistic. It's that floating world image, and people seem to be drawn to that. Usually a production company or advertising company would approach me and they would give me 1 or 2 images to work with as a start. With the Paul McCartney one, it was just him on stage in a black background. So I would have to take him and make an interesting illustration with it. I'd say typically 50 layers is normal, if not more. I'd say that would be the base. It's not just layers of random elements. You gotta have color balancing, and then you have to adjust levels. Just everything and anything could be a layer. 10, 15 years ago, I definitely wouldn't be able to create images like what I do today. I've talked to traditional artists before, and a lot of them are just kind of stubborn in trying it, or they feel like there'll be a cop-out if they do, and I don't agree with that. It's really no different than a regular traditional brush. It's just how you want to use it.
Before the digital age, we used to retouch prints, nags, hectachrons. Everything was made with hands. Now everything can be Photoshopped. So editors, they put a lot of work on the post-production. The first thing is I start with a basic shaping. Make sure the body, face, the hair, the finger, the hands, the feet looks pretty good to the eye. Then I work my way in to do some details in the skin, blotches, zits, bags and wrinkles, red eyes, crossing fine hairs. I mean, I can go on and on. A good retouching job, obviously, is when you don't see it's retouched. There's still some quality into it, some luminosity, some shadow, it's still alive. This is a site called Photoshop Disaster. People are just retouching without the eye of the retoucher or the eye of the photographer. There's poor quality. You don't have any structure left. We're really bombarded with pictures of glamour and perfectness. It seems like perfection has to be the norm, and it's pretty sad. I do believe those images impact our definition of beauty, but the trend changes and the beauty keeps changing over time. There's a saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, which I believe is true. I think we can separate between like the commercial beauty and the artistic beauty.
Photoshop has evolved along with remix culture in a very interesting way. It's become a dominant way to be able to illustrate their sense of humor or what they find is funny, what their ethics are. And images are much easier to spread than a blog post. Sometimes Photoshop memes can be a very simple way of communicating, but other times I think they can be quite deep and complicated. Casually Pepper Sprayed Cop, for example, was a meme that originated from this photograph of a police officer who was pepper spraying some Occupy protesters on campus. And a lot of people use this meme to make a statement about police brutality or to publicly humiliate Lieutenant John Pike. There's a really recent Photoshop meme called Thumbs and Ammo, in which movie stills having an actor holding a gun has the gun replaced with a thumbs up hand signal. And this one actually requires some very significant Photoshop abilities. And some people have said that it's an interesting way to make a statement about gun control or have an anti-gun sentiment. I'd say Photoshop has been empowering for people. It gives them the ability to humble celebrities like Beyonce's unflattering photos or politicians. And previously, people didn't really have such a way to get their voice heard in these regards. So these tools have really helped users to be able to interact with media and change it into whatever way they want.
The benefit is obviously the practicalness. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's better and better all the time.
Photoshop has become very important in terms of our visual culture, and meme culture is becoming increasingly important in online discourse.
10-15 years ago, I definitely wouldn't be able to create images like what I do today. It's not possible.
Cool. So you guys hopefully have a little bit of inspiration on some things that you can do with this program and the types of jobs that are out there. Let's talk a little bit about the actual process of getting a job. And I want to bring it back to what we talked about last week a little bit, which is your portfolio. As you're going through these courses, of course, you always want to save all of your assignments with the idea in mind that you are going to eventually use these in your portfolio, which is going to come up sooner than you think. You know, it's going to be like a year and a half, 2 years, and you're graduating and you are going out in the world. And you want to really make sure that you have nice, high quality, professional portfolio quality work. So I have some few tips for you on making a high quality portfolio, and then we will wrap things up for the evening. Hey you guys, periodically during this course, I want to take a moment to kind of make eye contact with you and talk to you about some really important things related to this course and also to your career as a graphic designer. One is, what do you intend to do after you get your degree? A degree is great. A degree kind of gets your foot in the door, but what's gonna get you the job is your portfolio and having a very high quality portfolio. And the fact is, if you don't have a good portfolio, you might not get a job. And these student loans, they're kind of expensive. And so once you graduate, you want to be able to pay off those student loans and not have to worry about your income. And so that's why it's really important to have a good portfolio to get a job. No portfolio, no job. It's pretty much just exactly like that. So let's talk about your portfolio. Now here I have a hard copy portfolio. It's really big like this, and it has my pieces printed out like so, and you can see that these are on kind of a hard matte board. It's glossy, it's really high quality print. But what a lot of you guys are going to want to do first is put together a online portfolio, which is basically like a website of your work. And now, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to talk to you specifically about that. But for now, what I want you guys to think about is what is going to go into your portfolio and what is going to constitute high quality work that will get you hired. So one thing to think about is all of these assignments that you're doing in class. Now, a lot of your 100 level classes like DES104, a lot of those assignments in your classes are like exercises that teach you the tools of the program. So those exercises might not be adequate portfolio pieces. Employers are going to want to see high quality professional looking work, and to get yourself thinking about what that means and what high quality professional work looks like, I'd really encourage you to visit a couple of graphic design websites. For instance, thedesigninspiration.com. You can also go on Pinterest and do a search on Pinterest for graphic design. In fact, I think it's great to have a Pinterest board for graphic design, or even just kind of a lot of different boards such as logo design, typography, illustration, and just start collecting lots of pins on Pinterest. I'll talk a little bit more in the future about Pinterest and how it works. But Pinterest is a great place to go. Also, websites like cgsociety.org, Facebook pages devoted to graphic design, Communication Arts Magazine, and also think about ways that you can freelance while you're in school at the same time. Now, an important thing about freelancing, I just want to talk to you a little bit about that. Some students think that, oh, once they graduate, they can get started freelancing and make a living. It's really, really hard to make a living just by freelancing. That's why I really hope that a lot of you are making it your goal to get an actual job or a career in graphic design, working for a company first. But freelancing is totally something that you might want to do while you're in school, because you can take on a few jobs here and there. So one thing that I've recently really enjoyed doing in my freelance work is literary magazines. Here's a couple examples of literary magazines. They hire illustrators and graphic designers as well to illustrate their stories and design their covers and things like that. So you can see in Friction magazine here, that came out last, let's see, this fall. This is one of my stories that I illustrated, not my story, but someone else's story that I illustrated for Friction magazine. And a good place to go to get a list of literary magazines is the Pushcart Prizes. Just do a Google search for Pushcart Prizes and you can check out their Facebook page, which is an award that goes out to the best stories in literary magazines for the year before. And so there's a big old long list of all of the Pushcart Prize prizes that have been awarded to different literary magazines. So that's a great place to go. Go to the websites for different literary magazines. And contact the art director, send them your portfolio, your online portfolio, and see what happens. Maybe you might end up freelancing and doing some illustration work for lit mags, which would be really cool. Another place to go is guru.com, and I'll be talking more about these different places, these freelancing places, in our class session today. But I really, really want you guys to think about making high quality portfolio level work in your 200 level classes, and understand that because your 200 level classes are those kind of like portfolio development classes, that means your teacher might take off a few points if your work isn't demonstrating high quality professional level work. But usually your teachers are pretty nice, and if you ask to resubmit an assignment to get a better grade, usually they'll be pretty accommodating. And a lot of instructors will be happy to meet with you in Zoom and talk to you about how you can improve your assignments to make them more portfolio quality. And your teacher can work with you over Zoom, and you guys can work together on getting your work up to that more portfolio quality level. And I am the same way. I'm totally eager to help bring your portfolio pieces to the level that they need to be at. So if you want to meet with me, if you want to talk about your work and how you can improve it, how you can make it more professional level, definitely feel free to send me an email. But also do check out those websites like the Design Inspiration, like Pinterest, CG Society, Communication Arts Magazine. See the type of work that is out there, that is professional level, and then start mimicking the work that you really like, and pretty soon your own style starts to develop. And not only are you making stuff that's following the trends, that's what people are interested in buying, but you're actually developing your own skills as well and developing your own style. So that's my important little speech about thinking about your portfolio. It really is important, because no portfolio, no job, and be sure to back up your work. I'll be talking to you in a little bit about something else really important. Okay, you guys, that wraps things up for tonight. I'll open up the classroom to any questions if you guys have any. And if not, you are free to go. And thank you so much again for being such a fabulous class.